In today's video, we're gonna go over frequently asked questions when it comes to high yield savings accounts. Now, I get a lot of questions on my Instagram. I get questions here on YouTube in comments, and I cannot possibly answer all of these questions. So I decided to just make a video and go over the most frequently questions that I get when it comes to high yield savings accounts. Now let's get started with the first one here. And if you're someone that wants to make passive income, you want to diversify your income, and you want to use YouTube as a tool to help you get there, you don't even have to show your face. I want you to click the link in the description because we can work together one-on-one, and I can show you the step-by-step process that I personally follow in order to consistently generate on average $2,500 of passive income working 1 to 2 hours a day. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, if you're a parent, you're a busy working professional where you want to diversify your income, then click the link in the description and we can talk. All right, so the first thing when it comes to the questions that I personally get, hey, one of the things that I get all the time is, Alex, what is the best high yield savings account out there? Now, this question is tough to answer because what is best? What do you mean by best? Best determines how we categorize these high yield savings accounts. And the truth of this, that the best high yield savings account is the one that you feel most comfortable with. Now, these questions, by the way, if you want a full guide on high yield savings accounts, there's also another link in the description that you can download your free guide to passive income with high yield savings accounts. And it's free. You can go download it, enter your email, and you'll be good to go. And you get all of the information that I'll be going over here in today's video if you want to read at your own pace and whatnot. So with that being said, the best high yield savings account is the one that you feel most comfortable with, and which gives you a competitive interest rate with easy access, transfer features, no fees whatsoever, trustworthy history and good customer reviews, and of course, needless to say, insurance. Now, many people out there like to filter or categorize or rank these high yield savings accounts based on the interest rate, which is okay if you don't care about anything else. But bear in mind that some organizations out there do use a very much high interest, higher than normal interest rates, because they're trying to get your attention, they're trying to get in business, they're trying to get in the game. And I don't blame them. It's a business move, but mind you that some of these organizations are not fully transparent, and sometimes I've seen terrible customer reviews after some people banking with these not so well-known organizations, because there are some people that just are in it only for the money and they don't care about providing great customer service. So just keep that in mind, and the best high yield savings account is going to determine on what you exactly are looking for, and I just gave you a description of what I personally determine is a high yield savings account. All right, so another question that I personally get is, hey, are online banks safe? Will I lose my money if the bank fails? Very much a concern that has to do with peace of mind, with security. And I'm gonna say here, from my perspective, yes, most online banks use advanced security measures and are FDIC insured. Now, following best practices for online security, of course, your password and just making sure your password is not password, that ensures that your money's safety, also using two-factor authentication. Wow, I can't even speak. So these are just regular practices when it comes to cybersecurity and online safety. And as long as the bank is FDIC insured, then your money would be covered. So I want to say that most online banks are safe, commercial banks, as long as they are FDIC insured. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that if you are someone that has, let's say you have a lot of money, and maybe we're talking about 300,000, 600,000, maybe a couple million, and you want to somehow, for some reason, put them in a high yield savings account, then just bear in mind that you need to make sure that all of the money is FDIC insured. And at that point, you want to make sure that you talk to the bank and you add beneficiaries so that you can increase, quote unquote, your FDIC insurance. So that way you are not left stranded if something happens to the bank, and it only insures you up to $250,000, which is the federal limit, allowable limit. All right, so the next question that I get is, hey, what happens if the bank fails? Along with the previous question, how do I get my money? Now, this is a question personally that I've wondered plenty of times, and it's a good question. It's valid, I want to say. And it makes sense, right? Like what happens if something happens to the bank? So if your bank fails, up to $250,000 of deposited money per person per account, ownership type is protected by the FDIC. What that means is if you have a joint account and then obviously like you have two people, maybe you're like you're married, then your money would your account, your bank would insure you up to $500,000, $250,000 for each. Now, beyond that, there's also ways that you can increase even your FDIC insurance. If you add beneficiaries, as I mentioned, you can take it all the way up to $1.25 million. And don't quote me on this, please do your own research. But when a bank fails, the most common outcome is that another bank takes over the assets and your accounts are simply transferred over. So if the bank that fails does not get bought out, then the FDIC will pay you out. So this can happen within a couple of business days, and this is based on what Investopedia has to offer shares. Now, one thing that I want to mention here is that that's the theory, right? That's in theory, that's what happens. The FDIC comes in and gives you your money back. Now, of course, in practicality, there could be some complications, but so I suggest that hopefully you never have to deal with this type of struggle because it can be rough and it can bring a lot of anxiety. So in order to avoid all of this, please make sure that you bank with trustworthy organizations. Even if they don't have the highest interest rate, as long as you get the warm and fuzzy feeling, then you'll be good to go, in my personal opinion. All right, so now another question is, hey, so what happens if I don't trust an online bank to open a high yield savings account? I've been used to dealing only with regular brick and mortar locations. Then what happens if I don't trust a bank? Like, what's up with that? Now, here's what I want to say. Many people fear online banks due to concerns about security and accessibility. And personally, I get it because I used to be there. However, online banks often offer better rates and lower fees because of the reduced overhead costs. Now, if you're skeptical about using a high yield savings account, that's okay. Give yourself a little break here. And you can start by saving small amounts. Like, for example, you can start by, as opposed to, let's say that you have $10,000 to share or to put in your high yield savings. Well, if you're a little bit afraid and you want to get in the game of online banks, then I suggest that you start with maybe 100, maybe 200 in the next month, or the next week you put in 700, and then little by little you start gaining trust and building rapport with an online organization. You start making withdrawals, you call customer service, just so that you learn the process that it takes to bank with these online organizations, and also to make sure that you do get your money back when you're trying to withdraw and they transfer it. So you essentially start testing the process with little money, and then eventually you start, once you feel comfortable enough, then you can put all your money in your high yield savings account. Now, some people out there, they like to diversify, and if you have a lot of money and then you don't fully trust one organization and you want to kind of put your eggs in different baskets, maybe you want to bank with, let's just say, SoFi up to a certain amount, then you want to use Marcus, then you want to use CIT, then Ally. So some people do that. I've seen that, and I've seen comments in my videos, and that's okay, right? It's up to you to decide how many high yield savings accounts you want. So with that said, there are also some banks out there that offer hybrid options, which offer competitive rates while also having brick and mortar locations, such as the case of Capital One. So Capital One is one of those banks, and there are other banks out there that I've seen, and it's going to be up to you, of course, who you decide to bank with. All right, so now how do you know if a bank is FDIC insured or NCUA insured? Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that not all commercial banks are FDIC insured. However, all of the credit unions are NCUA insured. So in order to double check a bank is commercially insured, then there's a website that you can go and you can verify the FDIC insurance. You can do the same thing for credit unions. So just make sure that if you want to trust but verify that a bank is certainly FDIC insured, then I'm going to leave a link in the description. Or you can just go to the FDIC insurance website and you can search for the bank, and that's really going to be it. All right, so now you might be wondering, okay, so can I open multiple high yield savings accounts, or should you? Now, here's what I'm going to say to that. Yes, technically you can open multiple high yield savings accounts. Personally, I've had up to 5 at once. And this strategy, it was mostly for research purposes, but this strategy can be beneficial for managing different savings goals, such as emergency fund, vacation fund, or maybe you want to save for a large purchase. As I mentioned previously, some people also use it to diversify their account and not just rely on one institution. So these are mainly individuals that do have a lot of money. But this is going to be up to you, right? Personally, I don't see a problem with keeping everything in one account as long as it doesn't go above the insured amount. Alternatively, many institutions, for instance, if you want to keep everything in one account, but you still want to separate your different savings goals, some institutions out there, and I want to say that this is becoming more common, institutions like SoFi, Marcus, Ally, they are offering different buckets or vaults that you can open multiple account lines under the same account number, under the same umbrella, and you can save for different goals. So of course, this is going to help you avoid having to manage too many accounts. So it can be a little bit overwhelming, right? If you are having to deal with too many accounts. All right, so now the next thing is, hey, what if I need to withdraw money for a big purchase or down payment on a house? Now, this is a question that comes from future homeowners or people that are saving for a car, or maybe people that are saving for a vacation, for a wedding, and they need to make a large payment. Now, the problem here is sometimes what these organizations do, and I actually looked into this, is they take a little longer than expected because they want to make sure, or at least this is what they say, they want to make sure that you are the one also receiving, you are the one actually authorizing the release of the money, and it goes into an account that you also own or that you are aware of, so that you don't get scammed, so that you don't get your money stolen. So sometimes banks take longer when you need to withdraw large amounts of money. So when I contacted one of these banks in the past, and based on research, they do this to make sure that you are the one that is releasing the money and also the one that is getting the money on the other end. Now, however, I do understand that it can be frustrating if you need the money right away for a down payment on a house or another large purchase. So here's what I suggest you do. So one, you can transfer your money out of your credit union or main bank maybe a few days before you actually need it. So that way you give the money a longer window to clear and go through the process. Another option is calling customer service ahead of time and letting them know that you'll be making a large purchase and you'll need your money. I remember I used to do this a little while ago when I used to travel internationally. So if you go to a location that is not necessarily your hometown, you can give them a call and say, hey, I'm gonna be here in this part of the world and please don't lock my account. So this is something that I used to do with my credit cards and also even my phone, and it never really gave me any issues. Now, the third option, which I recommend, is calling customer service, again, before you need the money or you run into problems. So that's what I suggest you do there. And another common question that I get is, hey, do I have to pay taxes on my earnings? Why do I have to pay taxes on money that I am earning on my high yield savings account? Like, you may be wondering, I already paid taxes, man. That's how this money got there. Like, I already paid taxes on this money. Why do I need to pay taxes again? But unfortunately, yes, you still have to pay taxes as it qualifies as earned income or as it qualifies as income. However, this is very, very easy. At the end of the year, your bank will either send you or make an online tax form available to you to download. It's a 1099 INT or something similar, and you can add that to your taxes if you do it on your own, or you can just give it to your accountant, and your accountant, if it's a good one or a reasonably good one, should know what to do with it. So if you are unsure about this process, I suggest that you go and obviously talk to a tax accountant, a professional, or you can learn more on the IRS website itself. So it's a very easy form to fill out, and it's like literally just one box, and that's about it. All right. Another question is, we're getting here towards the end of the frequently asked questions and the rapid fire is, hey, do I get an ATM card with my high yield savings account? Generally, no. High yield savings accounts are savings accounts, and as such, they don't come with ATM cards. However, if you want to add this feature, consider opening a checking account. So if you open both a checking account and a high yield savings account, then you would get the ATM card. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that there are some banks that do offer and do give you an ATM card for your high yield savings accounts. However, this is not popular, although I've seen it. You can transfer money from your high yield savings account to your checking if you do happen to open both, and then use the ATM card to access your funds. All right, so now here I'm gonna leave you here with, hey, what is the best way to save money in my high yield savings account? Now, the best method that I personally learned along the years to save money fast, lightning fast, is a quote that comes from Warren Buffett, who says, you need to save first and then spend. And the best answer I can give you here, which changed my life, is this: you need to automate your savings. Whether it's 30, 20, or 10% from every check, put it aside, forget about it, and send it automatically to a high yield savings account. And that way you're gonna see, after the weeks and months go by, you're gonna see that amount growing and growing. And honestly, you're gonna figure it out. Unless you are putting too much money into your savings, then obviously you don't wanna make yourself struggle just so that you're trying to save money. Like, that's just not my mentality, my mindset. So it's gonna be up to you, but the best way I found is through automation. All right, so now, with this being said, my friends, if you have any questions, if you want to know more about high yield savings accounts, or you want to start making passive income using YouTube, click the link in the descriptions, where you're going to find 2 links, one towards talking to me one-on-one service, and also you're going to see a link to my step-by-step guide to choosing the best high yield savings account for you, and that's going to be free. So with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you again. Peace.